Yesterday, I got a chance before I left to meet with the mayor of the city, Rafał Trzaskowski. He is likely to be a strong presidential candidate in May next year when President Andrzej Duda and his term is up. Mr. Trzaskowski is someone with a very keen eye on world affairs. He was educated in Michigan. He has a sharp understanding of American politics. But his business this past 2 years has been accommodating the Ukrainian refugees. And that is where our interview started.
In 3 weeks, 1.5 million Ukrainians passed through Warsaw, and we were housing 300,000 Ukrainians. The important thing is that when Europe was overwhelmed in 2015, remember the chaotic pictures and panic and so on, there were 200,000 people coming to Europe, the whole continent, in a month, and we were in a panic. We had 300,000 coming to just one city in 3 weeks.
And now?
Now we have around 100,000 Ukrainians who stay in Warsaw, and we are just counting those who were registered after the war because, you know, our Ukrainian diaspora is much bigger.
So how will the local population, the Polish population, react to the 2-year anniversary this weekend? Is there still the same patience, the same welcome from Poles for Ukrainians?
Well, you know, at the beginning, there was this reflex of incredible solidarity, because the incredible thing was that most of the Ukrainians found home with ordinary people, you know, who opened their homes to our Ukrainian friends. Now, of course, after 2 years, you know, the situation is different, because, first of all, there is a bit of fatigue, not as much as in the West, but also there are problems on the border with grain coming in from Ukraine without any checks and being accepted by the European Union, because there is a certain tension, and I would even say hypocrisy when it comes to the European decision makers, because at the time when we are having a Green Deal in agriculture, when we are trying to tell our farmers that they have to use very stringent measures and that all of our laws, agricultural laws, will become more stringent because we need to fight global warming, at the same time, you know, our border with Ukraine is completely open to their produce, which is not checked. Sometimes it's even contaminated, so that produces a backlash among the farmers. And of course that also has an impact on the population at large.
Do you worry, with the state of the war as it is, the renewed bombing of Ukrainian cities, that soon you might see another wave of refugees coming your way? And are you prepared for that?
Well, I mean, that was always my argument, that first of all we have to be prepared for another wave. And that's why I was telling my American and European friends that we need to wake up and come up with some solutions that are long-term. And secondly, that you never know what's going to happen in Ukraine, because we should look at it globally. I mean, every crazy dictator in the world is looking at how well are we going to manage the crisis, because Putin has miscalculated, because he thought that Ukraine will be weak, the Ukrainians will be weak, but also that the West will be weak, that we'll be divided. And we withstood that test, but what's going to happen now is crucial. And now, of course, you know, the Russians are getting support from North Korea, from Iran, and God knows where from. We need to have a global response to that.
We've just come from President Duda, who sees the threat. Would you say your country is on a war footing?
Well, you know, we've decided to be prepared, and that's the most important thing. And whatever we say, of course, with the American elections looming on the horizon, we need to be prepared. We need to take responsibility. We've decided, as you know, the NATO target is, you know, 2% of the GDP spent on defense. We've overpassed that. We are at 3% and aiming at 4%. Whereas many of our friends and allies in Europe are not doing it. So the most important thing is that we need to spend more money on defense, because deterrence is absolutely key. We need to also have our own capabilities as the European Union, so we need to invest in that.
Is that more acute because of what Donald Trump said just a few weeks ago? President Duda wouldn't really be drawn on that, and of course they're very close allies, but
yes.
I was making the point to him that fundamentally it undermines this central tenet of the NATO treaty of collective security.
Absolutely. And of course, you know, my intention is not to criticize President Trump all the time, although I think that he, as a responsible politician, should take into account how his words will be used by propaganda, because, you know, Putin is not just an enemy of Poland or the European Union, but he's an enemy of the whole Western world. There are 3 lessons From the pandemic and from the war. First of all, we as Europeans, we need to become independent, okay? When it comes to raw materials, when it comes to chips and infrastructure and so on and so forth, and of course when it comes to defense. Second thing is that we should invest in capabilities, and that's absolutely clear. And that our budget in the European Union cannot stay as it is now. Because, I mean, what we are doing now is, within the budget that we have, we are trying to shift funds, you know, a bit from agriculture, a bit from the structural funds, helping underdeveloped regions, you know, to put it slowly into defense and so on and so forth. We should enlarge the budget if we are to seriously think about being more resilient. And of course, one answer, and President Duda talks about it, is to think about the frozen Russian funds. And of course, this is a good idea.
You ran last time for the presidency. I don't know whether you will do the next time. I know you've not decided, but clearly there is a challenge on. Donald Tusk said in October that he would restore democracy in Poland within 24 hours. It's not quite worked out that way, has it?
Well, he said that he's going to restore European funds and, of course, also the freedom of the media. But, of course, it is difficult. First of all, because we won the parliamentary elections, but we haven't won yet the regional elections, which are absolutely crucial because it's the regions who are implementing policies and so on and have a great degree of independence. And there is a presidential elections to be had, and our president wields the right of veto. So, of course, it's not easy. But I would submit to you that this is a great lesson for us all. Because for the first time, we were able to actually fight with the populists in a way which is successful. And we have that problem all around the world.